Hey guys, and welcome to the Fish Room. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and today I'm very excited because I got in some new shrimp. Now, as you guys know, my little emergent growth treescape broke a few weeks ago, which was not at all shocking, and really the reality is I should have replaced that tank 2 years ago when it got cracked. But what it's meant is that I had to redo that scape in order to keep that tree going, and one of you guys, a wonderful man named George, decided to send me some new shrimp. Now, it's not that often that I get something as cool as this, and these are a species that I have actively been looking for years, and they are super tiger shrimp, Caridina mariae and Caridina mariae, and I am geeked because these guys are so hard to get these days, and they look absolutely stunning. He also sent me some plant trimmings to try, some boosters and some other stuff, and I just couldn't be more happy. So let's take a quick look at these and get them in a tank. Now, I'm probably not going to put them in that display tank right away, as it's having some sort of crazy algae issue, most likely from being a brand new setup. So I've set up a 10-gallon, I believe, or maybe it's a 15-gallon for them for the meantime until I get that tank balanced. And that's especially important with shrimp, as they're very sensitive to changes in chemistry. And it's important because if I should need to dose any sort of fertilizers or use peroxide or anything like that to get my algae issue under control, I don't want to risk these shrimp because they're ones that I really just can't replace. So again, thank you so much, George. Let's take a look at that little tank, talk about some of the issues it's having, and get these guys put away. Now, these shrimp are a Caridina species, and generally speaking, what that means is they like cooler, softer water. So I've set up an aquarium that has tropical soil in it, which provides a more neutral environment. Now, the ambient temp in the aquarium that I'm putting them in stays in the very low 70s, especially this time of year. Though eventually when I move them over here, this aquarium's about the same. So all I'm going to do is pour them into a container, making sure I check the bag closely so that none are trapped in the corners. That is a problem that can happen pretty frequently with shrimp, so it's always important to check those shipping bags. I'm going to pour them in here so that we can take a closer look. Again, checking the corners. And I'm going to add just a few drops of dechlorinator to make sure if there was any accumulated ammonia during transit, it is immediately detoxified. As I mentioned in the intro, shrimp are really intolerant of any swings and parameters, so it's of critical importance that we do take that into consideration before starting any sort of acclimation. Look at how amazing these tiger shrimp are. I used to work with these years and years ago and sold them all off at one point with the thought that I'd be able to easily get more if I wanted them. And it just has not been the case. I haven't been able to find a line of them that has not been crossbred with another Caridina to make a Thai B. So I am beyond geeked to get these incredible specimens back into my care. As you guys know, I absolutely adore the wild style shrimps, and these guys are one of my longtime favorites. I mean, they are a close second to my bee shrimp, and I'm just really excited to get them into an aquarium, get them breeding, and be able to make sure that I maintain a good long line of these guys. Now, I don't generally do any sort of prolonged acclimation for my shrimp. I'll let them sit in here in this detoxified water until it comes up to temperature, and then simply pour them through a net and add them to the aquarium. I did talk to the shipper before they were sent, and my parameters basically match, so there's no need to do a prolonged drip acclimation. I think you guys have to admit, these are really freaking cool, and it's so awesome that he sent me a nice range of sizes so that I'll have some that are ready to breed right away, as well as some younger ones to bolster the colony. Now, I'll be sure to do a real species spotlight on these guys once they're settled in, and I have them in an aquarium where we can really see them well. But you can see how gorgeous they are with that really bold striping and the bright orange nose and tail. I mean, I just think that there is something so magical about a species that is this beautiful in its wild form. Just absolutely amazing. You can see this little nano is having its fair share of new tank syndrome here. It definitely has some diatom algae going, as well as some stringy algae. And I did a 50% water change yesterday to deal with this. But I think it just needs a bit more time before I add anything to it. Now, it is true that the shrimp would absolutely graze on these surfaces, but I want to make sure that the parameters are completely stable and not risk the health of these little tiger shrimp. Now, I may end up throwing a couple of Amano shrimp in there just to deal with some of that string algae that's showing up. As Amano shrimp are extremely durable as far as shrimp go, and I have a whole lot of them. Of course, I would never risk their health, so I'll also have added some polyfilter to the aquarium. And I'll also add some polyfilter into the aquarium where I'm placing the tigers, just to take care of any trace amounts of ammonia that may develop from adding new species. Let's go ahead and drop a few Amanos in here, and then we'll check in a few days to see if we can add the tigers. I just grabbed, looks like 4 Amano shrimp. We'll drop them in there and let them do what Amanos do, which is graze on every surface. And I'll just take this little square of polyfilter and drop it in there as well. Polyfilter changes color to show you what it's filtering out, and I find it to be especially useful in very small aquariums or shrimp aquariums, as it can detect rising levels of ammonia before your test kit could, and it really just helps level out the parameters. Small aquariums are extremely tricky, as it doesn't take much for their values to go all over the place because of the low dilution. You can see already this Amano is checking out the algae and is going to go to town. And we'll see what they do over the next few days to a week. And if they're doing the trick and this tank is settling down, then we'll go ahead and move some of the tigers into it. But I may actually split them into 2 distinct colonies right off the bat, just in case, as I really want to make sure that I'm able to breed them. Let's go ahead and get them into their quarantine tank. This is a pretty standard shrimp quarantine tank for me. Again, I mentioned because these are Caradina species, I did add some neutralizing substrate. Has a simple piece of wood and just a small amount of plant for the shrimp to graze on. I also did drop in some polyfilter into this aquarium just to take care of any potential for, again, any accumulation of ammonia, though it'd be extremely unlikely for that to occur in this fully cycled aquarium. But rather safe than sorry, especially with shrimp. And as you can see, I literally just poured them in here, and nobody is even stressed out at all. They're already actively poking around their environment, checking things out, and doing what shrimp do. Now, I know it's controversial to not do an acclimation, and I have a whole video on why I do things the way I do. And I can link to that for you guys in the cards. As always, I want to know what you think. Are you guys as excited about these new shrimp as I am? Because I am absolutely freaking geeked. And I can't wait to get them into their permanent home here in the next few weeks. But again, I want to make sure that everything is hunky-dory for them before I add them to that aquarium, as I don't want to risk these guys. They're just so beautiful. So yeah, super excited. Now this is one of the juveniles. It's actually pretty teeny. Let's see if we can find some of the adults. Now this aquarium does not have a light, so it's going to make filming a bit challenging. As always, thank you guys for your continued support. Make sure you're subscribed and have that notification bell on so you don't miss any updates on these guys, as well as all the other projects I have going on down here in the fish room.